Hello guys. After watching this particular lecture, your need to understand the functionality of what callback function is all about, how many types of callback functions are present over there. I hope I would be able to simply put an end to all of these kind of stuffs, right? Because guys, there are a number of tutorials, a number of videos, a number of channel suggestions, formats, discussions going on everywhere. But people are starting the discussion with a callback hell kind of functionalities. So, guys, I'm not here to make your life hell. I'm here to make your life very much in a simpler and in an understandable way, so that at least you are able to learn something, because you are here to learn something and you are able to gain something, right? So, this is the way we have, our team has jotted down this particular lecture, and the way I am going to explain it, I am going to explain you this lecture onto a war kind like of situation, right? Let's say there are two countries, India and Pakistan, and war is going to happen in between these two nuclear powered countries, right? So what is the significance between these two countries and the concept of callback functions? The way I am going to make you understand this concept will get embedded onto your mind, right? So just be with me. But before starting the lecture, first understand what is a callback function and what is a function. First, I'll make you understand how your normal function used to look like in other in other Java kind of languages, right? So in Java, whenever you are writing a particular function, you are having a proper method signature, a well-defined signature was there, right? It was kind of like this, like public is a access modifier. Static, it simply describes what kind of method it is. It is a static method, it is a non-static method, right? And both methods are accessed in a different way. So this is the level of impact. What is this int? This is the return type, because this add method will return you a particular integer kind of stuff. This is the name of the method and these are the parameters. So such a amount of a strict type was Java, right? So you were able to understand each and everything. But what happens in JavaScript, there is a huge level of flexibility, guys. So the flexibility is given in you in a such a way that you just have to mention the name of the function and the parameters. That is it. And the second thing, the very much which is important in JavaScript, is that everything is treated just like a value. It's just like a simple value it is being treated. Whether if let's say you are making use of this particular example, login, a user name comma password, this kind of scenario everybody has done in their lifetime once or a while, right? So username is a value, password is a value that you are passing it as in the form of a parameter, right? Somewhere it is getting passed as a value, right? So everything in JavaScript, guys, even a function is not a special syntax, because this is a special syntax in Java for a method signature, right? But function is also not treated like that level of specialty. It is not kind of very special syntax. It is just a value. So everything is treated like a value in JavaScript. This is the reason you can store a function in the form of a variable. See, you can store a function in the form of a variable, and you can pass this variable in the form of a parameter to another function, right? And return function from a function. I'll discuss later on. This is a bit tricky, but till now at least you have been able to understand what I'm trying to say. So what is your callback function? Callback function is just a function which is created somewhere, and once you pass that particular function in the form of a parameter, let's say onto this login username and password, if I have created a function that automatically inserts username and password, and the name of the function is, let's say, name of the function is insert uname password, username and password. If I am able to pass it out over here itself, then this method, this function simply becomes a callback function. Why callback? Why we are calling it back? Because this method is already created somewhere, and we have the ability to pass it as a value to another function. In Java you are not allowed to do it onto this particular level, right? Reason being, in Java it was done at a very later stages. Let's say if you have a knowledge of lambda expressions, Java 8, you have I have already given a lecture about lambda expressions. I have also given lectures on functional interface. If you know these kind of concepts, then only at that level you were allowed to do or you are allowed to pass a function in the form of a parameter to another function. But in normal life, in a normal day to day, even in automation testing, a function is not passed as a parameter even in Java Selenium as well. It is done at a very little stages, and that too on a very refined level. I can give you an example if you comment it out. But in JavaScript, this is the level of flexibility, right? Sorry for taking 2 minutes of your time. But now we are going to understand it in kind of a war kind life like of situation, right? So in order to understand it, there are two types of callbacks. One is synchronous, another one is asynchronous callback. In synchronous callback, everything would be happening in a particular sequence, and in asynchronous callback, some things would be happening at some point in time. The sequence will not be getting followed. So what I'm trying to say over is that I'm just giving you a basic example, right? And this point is very important. Again, I'm highlighting it. And at the end of the lecture, if in one of the lectures, I'm going to explain you the importance of this line. You'll be surprised, guys. We have done enough level of automation till here, right? We have covered automation lectures till part. We are on the 11th part, and we have unknowingly done already this particular thing. तो कहाँ किया है, where we have done it, how we have done it, I'll explain each and everything in super details, guys, right? So don't worry about that particular stuff. First, try to understand what is synchronous callback. So callback function basically means that there is a function and you have the ability to, if you have the ability to pass that function in the form of a parameter, that becomes your callback function, right? Now let's try to understand with the help of example as well. And the example that I'm going to take is kind of a war kind like of situation. So guys, let's say World War III has started. Just imagine, just think that, World War III has already started. So, or let's say World War III is going to start. Allow me to take this particular notation, it is not sounding good. Let's say World War III is going to particular start. So which countries can be held responsible for that, right? So there are some major world powers, uh, countries in our earth, right? So first of all, allow me to create a particular file, a like async sorry synchronous.js, right? Okay, let's say, allow me to create a particular function, and the name of that particular function is that countries with nuclear capability, right? So I am going to create a function, and this function is going to return me a list of countries which have nuclear capability. RETURN, just type it out, enter the square braces, and just type in the name of the countries. Let's say the first country would be India, right? Because this is my country and I love my country. The second country would be America, right? The third country would be Russia, although Russia and America would be at the first level, because they are much more advanced in terms of nuclear capability as compared to India. But let's say the fourth country you can take name as of today's date, 2026, is of China as well, right? Let's say these are the countries with nuclear capabilities, and they have that level of power to determine the future of entire humanity. Let's say you are a human race, we are a human race, and our astrologer has told me that we are going to live around 80 years. But guys, believe me, if these countries decide in a synchronous way that, first India will launch a nuclear weapon on entire world, then America, then Russia, then China, guys, your astrology won't be there to help you out, right? So this is what I'm trying to say. Again, I'm taking this particular level of example because there is reason for it. I've seen people sitting in a barber shop and discussing about the future of World War. They are non-technical, but still they are able to predict some kind of predictability what can happen. I've seen people sitting onto a particular bar in a liquor shop and discussing about what will happen if there is a full scale war. So I'm assuming, let's say you are a non-technical guy, you don't know JavaScript, but you have still watched my lecture, luckily, right? The way I'm going to explain, but you will be still able to understand what is going to happen. So this is the reason why I have taken this particular example, because your common sense is working over here. If I take a very technical example, let's say get user data, get details, extract data from JSON file, from Excel file, you will not like the lecture and you will not like the concept as well, right? So over here, coming back to the topic, Alt Shift F, just allow me to format it in a better way. So let's say there is a particular function, and this function returns me a list of nuclear capable countries that can decide the future of humanity, right? And in order to decide the future of humanity, you cannot decide in your own mind. You have to go to a particular venue, and onto that particular venue, onto that particular location, these country leaders should be there over there, so that they can decide whether world war is going to happen or not. Okay, allow me to create another function for that. Let's say there is secret meeting with world leaders. I'm just taking a very anonymous kind of, not anonymous, this term I'm not using. I'm taking a virtual example over here, right? Okay, so let's say there's a secret meeting going on with the world leaders, and onto this particular secret meeting, what I'm going to do is that I am, uh, you know, uh, and this function is going to accept two parameters. First, a venue needs to be given, that's location where this kind of discussion will be happening, and the second thing, which all countries will be taking actually participation onto that. So for that we have already created a method, and we know that with the help of this particular document, that in Java we can simply a store function in the form of a variable, and we can pass that function to another function, right? So allow me to store this function in the form of a variable. Again, I'm going to do the same thing in front of you. So the const is equal to countries, and it is just returning me the list of countries. So countries with nuclear capability. So outcome of this particular function is stored in the form of variable, right? And I'm just going to print it out. That is the list of countries. Okay, and over here I am going to mention that uh, secret meeting is secret meeting is held at this location, right? So the name of the location, right? Let's say this method accepts two parameter. One is your location, another one is your function in the form of a parameter. So let's allow me to give it a name as a CV. Let's say callback function. Allow me, right, to call it in the form of a callback function. Okay. So now what we are going to do over here is that, or let's say, yeah, sorry, you need to pass a callback function over here, because we are not actually calling this method over here. Sorry for that, right? And now we are going to call this particular function. So how to call this particular function? Just copy it out over here and pass the required parameters. So what are the parameters that are required? A venue needs to be passed. So what can be the venue of such a kind of secret meeting? It can be surely in Antarctica, because and onto this particular location nobody can go seriously, right? And what are the world leaders, world countries that are going to participate in order to decide the future of the human race? This countries, this is the list of the countries, right? So, and which function is returning me the list of countries? This is returning me the list of countries. So I am just passing it out. I hope you guys are able to understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I have called this particular method. I have passed the two parameters. One is the location at which it is going to happen, and then this value, countries with nuclear capability, is gets passed on to this particular variable, and what is the outcome of this country is stored in the list onto this particular variable, countries. So India, America, Russia, China are stored onto this, and it is going to print over here, right? And let's say, allow me to print one more variable. Let's say these countries have decided to go for full scale war. Decided to go for full scale war. Although it will never happen, guys. But I am taking it for the sake of my second example over here, right? That I'm going to take very soon. So allow me to type it node sy.js. In order to run it, what is going to happen, just see, everything is happening in a very synchronous way, right? Onto the first line, see, the first thing that happened is that I have been able to make a callback function that is a synchronous callback. So onto this synchronous callback, what is happening? I have passed a function in the form of a parameter, and why it is synchronous? Because everything is happening into a particular sequence. So why it is happening? Let's say first thing that happened is that secret meeting is held at that location. Which countries are going to decide the future of humanity? India, America, Russia, and China, right? And what have they decided? The outcome of the meeting is that they've decided to go for full scale war. Nobody is gonna get remaining, right? So let's say this is what the essence of a synchronous callback. What is the meaning of callback? I am calling this function back over here, right? So this is the basic layman definition. This is what synchronous callback is all about. Everything is happening in synchronicity. Everything is happening onto a particular way, right? So guys, I hope you have enjoyed the lecture and you have at least able to understand what it is all about. Now the next example that I'm going to take is going to make use of India and Pakistan, right? So please stay tuned. I'll be back with a new lecture very soon. Thank you.